spending a month with the 13-inch iPad Pro, there were still a few lingering questions that made the ownership experience of this device a bit challenging. First was a question of whether it made sense to drop just under $2,000, including tax, to upgrade to a base 13-inch iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard and Pencil Pro. And secondly was if I made the right choice going with the 13-inch versus the 11-inch. Right off the bat was the color. As some of you have watched my first iPad Pro video, I started off with the silver white 13-inch, but then ended up returning it back for the black setup. The reason was that the two-tone color of the silver aluminum and the white keys really bothered me, whereas the generations before they were all one matte white color, which I would have loved to own instead. The black also does indeed show stains more easily, but it was a trade-off that I was willing to make. Also, did you guys know that you could put the Apple Pencil on the back of the iPad Pro? I've always been annoyed at how when I held the iPad in portrait mode, I had to take the pencil off. But with the magnets on the back, you can easily and safely tuck the pencil out of the way and quickly grab it when you want to use it. I wonder what other tablet does that. And for fun, I tested it with my 2020 iPad Pro, and yes, while it lacks the strength, you can do it here too. Of course, it doesn't charge, but Apple clearly didn't mention this, as I think they knew it was similar, or seemingly too similar in form factor to one of their competitors. So the main question is this new setup worth $1,900? The answer is, for someone like me, pretty clearly no. And it pains me to say, but for the same money, you can get a lot of other things. You can get a brand new 14-inch MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM, or for roughly the same price, a 15-inch MacBook Air with 24 gigabytes of RAM. You could also get a base MacBook Air and an Apple Watch Ultra, and that's just the Apple ecosystem. If you jump into PCs, you can get basically any GTX 4070 laptop with 16 gigabytes of RAM in that price range. I know the cost for the iPad goes into the Touch Tandem OLED display, the pencil capabilities, and its tablet form factor. But still, it's a really hard pill to swallow, especially for my use case. I'm squarely in the camp of entertainment and daily admin use for the iPad Pro, and for those things, iPad Pros that are even before the M series chips suffice. With that said, there are a few welcome changes having this new one. For instance, I like to use the iPad Pro without the Magic Keyboard, and when holding it, the iPad no longer digs into my hands, whereas the previous generations would constantly push in enough to bother your palm. Secondly, the performance difference for daily tasks is noticeable, like how everything opens insanely fast and how quickly the inputs respond. Now, I'm coming from an older 2020 iPad Pro with its A12Z chip, which was noticeably slower than the newer M series iPads. But still, my older iPad had no issues getting the things done that I used it for. But do these two things justify its price point? The reality is that it probably doesn't for most people. Unless you're traveling for work and leisure a bulk of your time and use a lot of 5G data on the go, which is a lot more safe than constantly logging into publicly available Wi-Fi's, or are a dedicated professional artist that needs the best tablet available in the Apple ecosystem, I can't see who this 13-inch iPad Pro is really for, except for those who really are enthusiasts and enjoy the newest tech available. Some might argue that the display is superior, but I'll be honest, I think the new display is only an incremental upgrade from the LCD one. And if you're coming from any of the mini LED iPad Pros, I bet the delta is even smaller. Apple really hyped up the dual tandem display, but honestly, the display was great on my 2020 iPad Pro, and maybe my eyes are just getting bad, but for watching YouTube and for writing a few emails or notes, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference if I didn't have them side by side. Don't get me wrong, it's a pleasure to look at. The blacks are darker and some of the colors look richer, but the difference in quality didn't feel as groundbreaking as my Galaxy Book 4 360 Pro, where the display on that machine feels next level. So if you're thinking of upgrading just for the screen, I would totally advise against it. I really appreciate the comments and insights a lot of you shared with me on my 11-inch versus 13-inch iPad Pro comparison video, and I figured I'd share some thoughts after using this for a month. If you're watching this on your iPad Pro right now and have had yours for a few weeks, I'm confident that many of you have become accustomed to whichever size you ended up choosing, while occasionally wishing you had the larger or smaller iPad Pro. And for those who weren't satisfied, probably ended up returning and buying the different size. Now, for myself, coming from the 16-inch MacBook Pro, the 13-inch iPad Pro feels like a wonderful size delta, big enough to make it feel like I can still get plenty done comfortably on the 13-inch iPad Pro, but still enjoy the smaller form factor when compared to my 16-inch. I also use Stage Manager 100% of the time, which is really much more useful on the larger display in my opinion. However, I'll be honest, every time I hold the iPad Pro in my hands, I can't help but wish that it was just slightly smaller, like a 12-inch model. The 13-inch is just that 10 to 15% too large to always hold, but I feel that it largely depends on how large or small your hands are, or how large or small you are in general. Secondly, for those who already own a 14-inch MacBook Pro or any of the MacBook Airs, I would say that the 11-inch iPad Pro makes a lot of sense to be able to tap into the true portability of the smaller form factor. If you fall into this camp, you already have a portable device that you can get work done on, and the 11-inch then slots into an ultra portable category that will be your companion wherever you go, either to that coffee shop or on the plane, or just holding above you while you're laying down. It's clear to me that this device really isn't for the masses. It's unfortunate as the Pro moniker feels more like a Pro price, with a limited operating system and incremental upgrades that make you wonder if you spent your hard-earned money well on. The 13-inch iPad Pro has been one of the few times I think I've felt buyer's remorse with an Apple product. I know there is a subcategory of ultra users where the new M4 iPad Pro has upped their workflow for the better, but for an average guy like me who appreciates new tech, I find it hard to justify for the price. With that said, I know the M4 chip will destroy anything I throw at it, and ultimately the battery will probably have to be replaced once before I need to upgrade the device itself. When looking at it that way, I do feel a bit better when amortizing the cost over the course of 5+ years. And what about you guys? How have you felt since upgrading to this new generation? And if you are in the camp where the M4 iPad Pro has changed your workflow, please share in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.